This light rail system serves two different states. Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new Trains Are Awesome video. I'm Thom, and you may have seen some of my Metrolink trip reports in the past. And today I'm doing another video about Metrolink. So which line are we doing? Maybe the Antelope Valley line, Orange County line? Nope, none of the above. We're not in Los Angeles today. Instead, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. The light rail in St. Louis is also called Metrolink. Turns out, in English-speaking countries, people just like to add the word link to any public transport name to make it sound cooler. Now what makes Metrolink so cool is that it is actually an interstate system. Trains operate both in Missouri as well as in Illinois across the Mississippi River. So today we're going to get on the red line from Lambert International Airport, take it through downtown, over the Mississippi River, and into Illinois. Now let me set some parameters. I'm not talking about mainland commuter rail because in the United States there are quite a few of these systems that do cross state lines. In this case, I'm talking about urban rapid transit systems. And if you look at a map of the United States, there are 4 systems that cross state lines. You've got PATH, PATCO, the DC Metro Rail, and the St. Louis Metrolink. Now, officially, PATH is legally classified as a commuter rail, but since its service resembles rapid transit a lot, I'm just going to consider it part of this category. Out of these 4, St. Louis Metrolink is the only one that uses light rail vehicles. The rest use heavy rail vehicles. We're starting today at Terminal 1 of St. Louis Lambert International Airport. Metrolink serves both Terminals 1 and 2, although at the moment only Terminal 1 has a working elevator. Access to the Metrolink system from the airport is very easy. The train station is inside the terminal building right by the check-in counters. The first things we'll encounter are the ticket machines, which is good because I still need to buy my ticket today. A day pass costs $5 as opposed to a $4 2-hour card. This seemed like a no-brainer to me, so I bought a day card, giving myself ample time to explore the city and the light rail. Look at it. It's called a one-day adventure pass. I guess it's time to begin our adventure. The trains leave upstairs, so first it's a little walk past the tarmac and then a hike up the non-working escalator. Don't worry, this station does have an elevator. In fact, most stations do, although, like I said before, the one at Terminal 2 has been out of service for over a year. And here's our train, an SD 460 built by Siemens in 2005. That livery looks fresh. Previously, these cars were mostly white with blue and red stripes, but now they have this new light blue color. It's bold for an American transit system. I really like it. Let's take a look inside. The blue theme continues in the seats. Other than that, the interior design is fairly uninspiring. But I'll tell you something else that caught my attention: how clean it was. No trash, no unidentifiable liquids. Since moving to the US, I had kind of grown to appreciate transit despite the mess. It was refreshing to see an interior that was looked after well. Now these are priority seats, so if somebody in a wheelchair were to come in, of course I'll move so they can sit here. These cars do have a map posted above the windows, and they have screens playing security footage. The platforms are all the same height as the train floor, meaning boarding is more accessible. However, by the driver's cab, there is still a door for potential low-level boarding. And here's what the cab looks like. Notice that the vehicles are operated using foot pedals.
Stand clear.
The first stop after Terminal 1 will be Terminal 2. This line in and out of the airport is single track. I was not expecting that. There are several other sections of single track throughout the network, but this is pretty rare for urban transport and light rail. The line we are on now is the Red Line. The longer of the two, the Red Line runs from the airport to Forest Park de Bolivier. There it is joined by the Blue Line coming from Shrewsbury. Both lines then share tracks through downtown, crossing the Mississippi River into the state of Illinois. Blue Line service terminates early at Fairview Heights, while Red Line trains continue to Shiloh and the Scott Air Force Base. The eastern section of the Red Line is very rural. The Red Line stops at multiple locations within the University of Missouri in St. Louis. I don't know if this was just the operator or if everybody here says it this way, but the abbreviation was pronounced UMSL instead of UMSL as I would have guessed. However you pronounce the name of your school, having multiple stations serving it must be really nice. On several occasions throughout my trip, Metro security officials came on board to check everybody's tickets. I thought that was really good.
Well, stay, doors opening on my right.
We're approaching Forest Park de Bolivier station, where the Blue Line joins us. The track layout here is very weird. It's an island platform, but rather than separating the tracks by direction, they're split by line. This means that the southern track serves Blue Line trains in both directions, while the northern platform serves Red Line trains in both directions. So basically, this station has two single track lines. I wonder why they chose to do it this way. Immediately after the station, we get onto the right track again, continuing east. The Metrolink section we're riding today is actually the original section that opened in 1993. 30 years ago, the first Metrolink train ran between North Hanley and 5th and Missouri. The extension to the airport opened a year later in 1994. The most recent extension was in 2008, and the newest station, Cortex, opened in 2018. Another extension on the Illinois side is planned for 2025.
The Red Line train is on Shiloh. Standing clear.
The next stop, Cortex, is the newest station on the system. Shortly before Union Station, we pass the Metrolink Yard and Maintenance Facility. Here we can see a train still in the old livery.
Train is a Red Line train. Next up, Civic Center, doors opening on that one.
So yes, our goal is to travel to Illinois, and I got off here at Union Station, not too far from downtown, just because I want to show you Union Station. The Metrolink tracks run right underneath, the main hall of Union Station. Unfortunately, Union Station is not where you get on the Amtrak train these days. That happens at the Gateway Transportation Center, but Union Station is still a really cool place to visit, so that's what we're going to do right now as we wait for the next train to get us over the Mississippi River into Illinois. Whoa, this place is really cool. We're like right underneath the old train shed. So of course it's really sad that the old Union Station now is mostly parking space. But of all the things they could have done with this place, this really isn't that bad. St. Louis Union Station opened in 1894, and at the time it was the largest train station in the world. I can definitely see that. In 1948, the Chicago Tribune had falsely predicted that Harry Truman had lost the presidential election and had already published that his opponent Dewey had won. There's a famous photo of Harry Truman holding a copy of the Chicago Tribune with this fake headline, and that photo was shot right here at Union Station in St. Louis. In 1978, Amtrak abandoned Union Station because the station was just too big to serve the small number of trains that were still using it. Currently, the train shed houses several restaurants, a hotel, and the St. Louis Aquarium. Not far away is a small amusement park. There's also a hotel inside the old station building itself, making the building inaccessible to the public. And then the best part about Union Station for train lovers like us is you can actually still see some trains. Time to get back on the train. Our goal is still to cross the Mississippi River into Illinois.
Red line in service. I said it's fine. Stand clear, all doors closed. Stop. Why you play, Dallas? Is that the front? Yeah, I saw it on TV, but it's up here over here on here tonight. Oh, yeah. What you call it? I'm saying, who is Dallas playing tonight?
Between Stadium and 8th and Pine stations, the trains duck underground for a short tunnel section. This tunnel has such a fascinating history. When the Eads Bridge over the Mississippi was built, freight trains were going to use it to enter St. Louis. However, there was no space for railroad tracks downtown, and so immediately after the bridge, trains would take this tunnel to get downtown. The last train to use it was an Amtrak train which passed through in 1974. Then in 1993, it was absorbed into the Metrolink network. Currently crossing the Mississippi River. Next stop, Illinois. Remember, we're not just crossing America's most famous river, we're also crossing from Missouri into Illinois. There are only 4 interstate transit systems in the US, and out of those 4, this is the only light rail. Welcome to Illinois, currently the state I reside in. Ironically, the station name is called 5th and Missouri. And remember, we just crossed the Mississippi River, crossed the state line. This is the only place in the entire country where you can take a light rail vehicle and cross state lines. Meanwhile, over in Europe, we're like, we have multiple international light rail systems. Thank you very much. We've climbed up the ramp and are back on the Eads Bridge, heading back to Missouri. Alright, so I've made it to Laclede's landing station. This isn't the station they recommend for the arch, but I chose this station just because look how beautiful it is. It's built into the bridge structure, and you get a pretty nice view of the arch, if I do say so myself. Alright, so if you're weird like me and you come to St. Louis to ride Metrolink, do not forget to add Laclede's landing station to your itinerary. You will not regret it. Now let's be more of a regular tourist and visit the arch. Ooh, it got windy. So here's a fun fact. There's a railroad track that runs right in front of the arch. Okay, so it's a Wednesday night. There's rain in the forecast, but still, this is one of the US's most famous monuments, and I seem to have it all to myself. The St. Louis Arch is 630 feet tall. That's 192 meters. Construction began in 1963. It opened 4 years later. Built on the location where St. Louis was founded, it symbolizes the city's role as a gateway to the west. Its official name is the Gateway Arch and not the St. Louis Arch. So this is my second time seeing the arch. It's still just as impressive. Interestingly, the land the arch stands on is a national park and has been since 2018, which was quite a controversial decision. There was this family that chased after me screaming, and when I finally turned around to talk to them, they were like, delete the picture you took of us. I was like, what picture? They were like, we saw you way over there taking a picture. I always try to be very careful about not getting people in my shots when I'm doing these videos because, nobody really wants that. So then they demanded to see my phone and delete it themselves. I said, no, if you're in any of my videos, I will cut you out, I will blur you out, I will do whatever. I'm not giving you my phone. Don't chase me, don't scream at me, have a good day. Because in all reality, you're standing in front of a super famous monument, and I was over 100 yards away. Alright, so this is one of the underground stations. A nice mix between old and modern. I really like it. Let's talk about things that surprised me about Metrolink, things that impressed me, and things that I think could be improved. So I was surprised by the single track at the airport. Actually, the system does have single track at a few other places. I was surprised by the weird track layout where the red and the blue line meet up. And I was very surprised by how clean and overall pleasant it was on board. Sometimes in the United States, public transportation can get a bit rough, and obviously I haven't traveled on Metrolink extensively, so I don't know what it's like here, but my first impression said a lot. And I think that having people scan tickets was very helpful, because there would be security people on the train that were actually checking if you had valid fare. One final thing that really surprised me was that the driver announced the stops into the mic themselves instead of there being some sort of automated announcement. Now, things that really impressed me. First of all, the livery. That blue looks so good. A common criticism I have of American transit systems is that their color schemes are so dull and boring. Not Metrolink. They made me very happy. Something else that I was impressed with, the modern stations. Like, there's not a single station that I've seen where you really feel like, ooh, this is falling apart. The level boarding, none of that like low level nonsense, just high level platforms. I like those. Once again, actually checking fares, that shouldn't be impressive, but it was. Things that Metrolink could improve, however, mostly have to do with the information that they display. Here at the stations, there are no signs indicating when the next train will come, so you have to use the transit app, which is a little bit spotty over here. On board the trains, there are no like visual announcements. So the driver makes the audible announcements, but on my second train I took today, they weren't very clear to hear. And also there are people who may have hearing impairments, so just having a screen or an LED matrix that just says what the next stop is would be really helpful. Airport. So definitely those things I said about the Metrolink trains being very pleasant to ride, that's a daytime thing. At night, it is very different. It's kind of like riding the CTA. Loud music, drugs, incidents between people. Although I did talk to a bunch of the guys that were on my train car, and it was actually a pretty nice conversation. We found a lot of common ground. So that's all I have on Metrolink today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, if you like the stuff that I make, please subscribe to Trains Are Awesome and find me on Instagram, Facebook, Patreon. See you next time.